Hi, I'm Daniel Hardt, Numerologist, and I'm going to talk to you today about Anthony Weiner. What made him do it? I'll give you a clear picture of why this scandal was predictable and really unavoidable. Numerology is a metaphysical science that looks at an individual, the characteristics from his birth name and his birth date. The birth name and the birth date set up a pattern for the lifetime. And we get a picture of the traits that played out in this scandal from Anthony's chart. Looking at his numbers, it is not surprising that his activities took on a sexual overtone. He has a 6th life path, and the life path says what the lesson is, what the main emphasis of this lifetime is. The 6 indicates a life lesson of responsibility to family and close friends, handling responsibility well. Now, he also has a 6 personality. The personality is how strangers see him. So he's set up for a particular image that he is needing to project. And that added to that life path lesson puts him into a certain box. Now, with that double 6 energy, it turned negative because it's an overabundance. Then you add to that a 7 soul urge. And the soul urge is what motivates him, what makes him feel fulfilled. And the 7 is opposed to that more loving 6 energy, making him sometimes feel a little aloof, a little cold, and so he can go back and forth between the two, sometimes being very loving and other times just being closed off from everything. Now, as a result, there were times when he might crave intimacy, and yet at the same time he craves it to push it away. Part of the reason for pushing it away is feeling vulnerable, feeling like he might be rejected. And he has a certain lack of self-confidence to begin with, but his actions played out an inner battle that he was fighting. His wife is a high power player in her own right, and perhaps a bit intimidating to him, particularly since he has trouble in expressing his feelings and his needs. So it's likely that his sexual needs were not being adequately met, and he didn't quite know how to change that. And the texting might have seemed like a safe way to make some of those needs be met. Now, since he has difficulty communicating feelings, he tends to bury these feelings. And as they're being buried, he has a buildup of all this emotion that has to come out somehow. Now, using Twitter avoided the personal intimacy, yet it gave him a degree of connection, okay? And the numbers show that he has had a challenge in relating to people from his earliest years. His self-confidence has been somewhat diminished, and in order to try to find his true place, he may well have put on an image of arrogance and become actually a bully in order to avoid people knowing that he felt inadequate. He's also a frustrated idealist. He's got a clear vision of what a perfect society would be like. And yet, he has less understanding in how that perfect society could be brought about. So, he sees the world just a different angle from other people. And because he sees it a little askew, sometimes he's misunderstood. And he has trouble to make his ideas clear because he may say what he's thinking very clearly in his mind. His listeners will hear him very clearly, and the two may not agree. So there is a good possibility of misunderstandings arising. Now, my impression of his profile is a man who's risen too high because just through hard work and sheer determination. That's based on his 4 expression and his 4 birthday. The expression is the basic traits of a person. And the 4 is a foundation energy. It's very structured. It's very controlled. And so he's got this essence of control. And it also is a very frugal energy. It seems amazing that he may have gone against some of his own rules in some of the things that he did, but he was trying his best to keep the image that he had established for himself. So he was constantly on the edge that all of this that he had built may fall apart at any time. And he couldn't afford to let himself be his true self, because any chink in that armor would cause him to be vulnerable. People would take advantage of that. So he had to maintain this strong image of being invincible and arrogant and unapproachable. But that's not him. And because it's not him, he has to constantly be on stage. He does have acting talent, but in any situation where you're constantly acting and it's a role that is not normal for you, eventually it's going to break. All this emotion that has been buried will find a way out, and if he doesn't dissipate it on a regular basis, it will come out like a dam bursting. And when that happens, it can be very destructive. And I feel that's what happened here. Now, his genuine concern for society impelled him to champion many causes like health care and some other of the strong bills that he backed and was a champion for. But he does have healing energy in his personal chart, and so that would be a natural thing for him to champion. But yet the methods went against his natural inclination. And for even the strongest individual, you can only keep that up so long. You know, perhaps the surprise is that he was able to keep it up as long as he did. Now, as for Mr. Weiner's future, I know this may seem shocking to some of you, but my honest wish for Representative Weiner is that he can now leave Congress and reestablish his life with a path that uses outstanding natural abilities without the stress of those conflicting emotions. Instead of trying to excel in a position that fails to match his basic core, he can now find his true calling. His intuition is very accurate. He needs to follow it. His numbers dictate a more spiritual path than he portrays. He may not become a rabbi, although he could, but he would be an excellent counselor or teacher. When he connects to his core numbers, he can be a faithful and loving husband and a good father. I hope he will be given the chance. He still has much to offer the world. This has been Daniel Hardt at lifepathgnome.com, or you can reach me at 800-442-2589.